More papers coming in as we speak. I think everyone was holding off for the Ryder Cup, potentially, yes, which obviously has just happened and, Europe is celebrating, but we'll come on to that a bit later, no doubt. In the meantime, let's go straight to The Guardian, shall we? Which is the words of the Prime Minister today, taking the fight to reform. It's great diversion for what may be the criticism he's facing. But anyway, specifically using that word racist, is that a right approach from him, do you think?
It's a high-risk approach from the Prime Minister to use this word against reform. And, of course, he's referring to the plans announced by Nigel Farage last week to scrap indefinite leave to remain. It would affect around 430,000 individuals here in the UK. Of course, at the moment, if you're here for 5 years, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. Farage wants to scrap that with a visa system where you would increase the salary threshold potentially up to about £60,000 a year and then put more stringent tests on English requirements. And Farage insists that the policy is very popular. But Keir Starmer, and I think there is a broader point here that this could be the really ugly end of Nigel Farage's immigration policies. Is insist, if you get to a point where people are going to potentially, you're going to have families split up, they're going to be forced to leave because they're not going to be able to meet this salary threshold and they're not going to be able to meet the English test. That could become very difficult. Having said that, is it the most sensible word to use at this particular time when we've seen Keir Starmer's net favourability ratings fall to the lowest on record? Because the way it will, from Reform's point of view, and I'm sure if you look at The Sun, there's already people talking about fury at this language from the Prime Minister. Will say, well, if you're labelling Nigel Farage racist, then you're labelling those who are going to vote for him racist. And Labour need at the next election those people to vote for their party.
I know you'll want to come up on that, but the new news tonight is what the Home Secretary will say in her speech to conference on Monday. Migrants who want to remain in the UK will have to learn English to a high standard, have a clean criminal record and volunteer in their community. This is Shabana Mahmood, expected to set out a new series of conditions for those seeking indefinite leave to remain status. Is she being bounced into action, do you think?
Yes, and I think this is part of the problem, that until now, actually, Keir Starmer and his team have helped nurture this whole hatred of first the people on the boats. And inevitably, I remember writing a column saying, first they're going for those people on the boats who haven't got a voice or a face or haven't told their stories. Next, it'll be another group. And soon it'll be your newsagent, your neighbour, the person your son and daughter married. We're feeling that. I mean, I was at a restaurant last night, in a Thai restaurant. Not many people there. And my husband's English. And he actually pointed it out. He said, do you realise that these guys are really hostile to us? And it was in the air. And I went to the loo and I said hello to one of them. And she turned away. And so all of this, and a lot of people are finding this. There's a woman who was abused on a train from Maidenhead, a young Asian woman, by young kids, and the adults just didn't do anything. So I've always said that it starts with one group, and Starmer has been absolutely negligent, or worse. I've written a chapter on a book that's coming out tomorrow where I've talked about Starmer and race. He has pandered to it for quite a long time. And now he's picking it up the fight. Good, he's picking up the fight. Because it is Farage and his team, they're not talking about the voters. He's made that very clear. People are being taken in by some of the promises of reform. But if you tell me that Farage, who admires Enoch Powell, who says he agrees with the Rivers of Blood speech, and we who suffer racism may not call him racist, what kind of a rule is that?
Well, I'm going to carry on about what Shabana Mahmood is announcing on Monday. Asylum seekers will need to be working, paying national insurance and not be claiming benefits under the proposed changes. And Labour said there is a dividing line between the government's proposals and Reform UK's pledge to scrap settled status for all non-EU migrants, suggesting a consultation on the changes will be launched later this year. And currently, obviously, most migrants who come to Britain on time-limited work visas can make an application for indefinite leave to remain after 5 years, which is the bit that Nigel Farage wants to change for non-EU workers.
They're saying asylum seekers will be allowed to work.
I don't know if that's after they've been approved for leave to stay. actually.
Because that's
not-
been the thing that would really
yeah, but
help.
that's before they're approved to stay, isn't it? So,
Yeah, they're not. I think there was some talk that I know in the last week or so there's been some talk that the Chancellor was going to look at this proposal to allow asylum seekers who haven't yet had their applications processed to work. But I think that's not
Because
going to happen.
I'm sure that's been rejected,
But
hasn't
yeah, I'd be very, very surprised if that happens. But what I don't understand, just for a moment, what I don't understand is that here you have that speech from what Shabana Mahmood has said. The only difference apologies in the speech. The only difference between what that list that you read out there and reforms proposals announced by Nigel Farage is the salary threshold. At the moment, it's around £40,000. Reform want to put it up to £60,000, but everything else, Labour are price matching reform on. But at the same time, you've got Keir Starmer saying that reform's purchase racist. So I don't quite understand, if you're devising a communication strategy here, which one is it? Are they a reform wrong, or we actually, as a government, the government is actually going to try and you know, meet reform head on and say, well, our proposals are just as tough?
Well, you know, I think he's been spooked because his popularity has now fallen amongst... I'm never going to vote for Labour while Keir Starmer is in power. I'm a lifetime Labour support. I'll vote for... And my MP is my friend. My Labour MP is a good woman. She's my friend. But I cannot vote for Keir Starmer. But hang on, let me tell you why. Because when Martin... what was his name? The QC, Martin Ford, was asked by Keir Starmer to look into racism in the Labour Party, a report was written which he totally ignored. Starmer. He totally ignored that.
So is it simply on this point?
No.
You
So what he's played and in a way, you know, this is true. He's played the game with reform, and now he's doing a shift and a turnabout. Now, I hope this is the future, not the past. But a lot of us have completely lost faith in Keir Starmer.
OK, let's just look at the Metro while you're talking. Similar, the Prime Minister, reform plan is racist. Immoral policy will tear the UK apart, he claims, as Farage's party says he's smearing voters, which is exactly the point that you made.
But Yasmin, just on that, let's suppose you were a voter up in Runcorn and Hellsbury at that by-election, and you wouldn't vote for Keir Starmer, but then you'd vote for the left-wing alternative. Let's say in that case it was the Green Party. Yeah. Reform won that because so many people voted and the left voted.
I'm not a tactical voter. I have to believe.
But the implications of what you're saying is that you allow Farage to become Prime Minister.
I really think we have to stop this building up of reform. Ian Dale, who's not on my side of the politics, he's a right-wing, Tory commentator and a friend of mine, did a very good thing in his newsletter today, just saying, you know, don't exaggerate reform's potential success. And he gave us the figures.
They've got a 12-point lead.
Yes. There are polls. We are 4 years away, and the media has just become the wind beneath his wings. The minute you ask him difficult questions, I've been on a programme with him once for 2 hours.
But let's move on from that. The whole point is what you're basically saying is actually fundamentally Keir Starmer is not left enough for you.
Not left enough.
And so that's exactly what the Unite Union leader Sharon Graham has been saying today.
His record on race and equality. Yeah. And I'm quite ashamed that a Brown Home Secretary
But
now
do you understand that Labour only wins elections if it goes towards the centre? And that is the fundamental problem for Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer.
Centre people in this country are not racist. They are not racist.
Well, Keir Starmer would absolutely say that is never a label that should be put towards him.
Well, he's not racist, but he's certainly not done enough, and he certainly didn't follow any of the recommendations in this important report that he commissioned.
But the mood music needs answering about the boats, and so therefore he has to do that. So, you know, that's why the policy has moved in that direction.
I think people here value integrity in politics. After 14 years of really ugly, shameless politics, we wanted somebody with integrity, not playing the same games.
Right, so let's look at policies that we're expecting tomorrow. It's supposed to be the business day. We're hearing from Rachel Reeves, but also this policy that's outlined in the Daily Mirror. paid work for all jobless young people. So explain this to us, because actually it means you're going to be forced to take work or your benefits will be cut.
So this is on the front page. The Mail splashes with it on the front page. Sorry, the Mirror. Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies. Splashes with it, and then they've got a double-page spread inside. And the Chancellor, obviously, Monday is the day for the Chancellor to give her speech, and she's going to be saying that anyone out of work for 18 months will be given a paid work placement. This is under a new youth guarantee scheme that every youngster will be guaranteed a college place or apprenticeship or one-to-one support to find a job. And if they don't accept it, then they can expect to see their benefits cut. Now, of course, the last time the Chancellor tried to cut benefits was only in the summer, just before the summer recess, and that ended very badly because there was a U-turn, or it got kicked into the very long grass of the... so there's not going to be any cost-saving measures, any money-saving measures to cut benefit, especially when it comes to those particular reforms to disability benefit between now and the end of this Parliament. The Chancellor has to get welfare, she has to get the public finances under control ahead of the budget. I think it remains to be seen whether she can do it with the mood in the parliamentary party right now, whether they're going to stomach it. But I think it's interesting that she's chosen this moment to launch, at the Labour conference, to launch this particular policy.
I think it's quite a good policy.
You think it's quite a good policy?
I think it's a good policy. It's for young people. We're not talking about the disabled. We're not talking about impoverished mothers who can't feed their third child. We're talking about young people. And I think if it works, it could be a very important thing for young people.
So you're saying, why did Labour start trying to cut welfare via whatever disabled people get paid? That was the fundamental problem.
Yeah, that was, for me, that was immoral. But I think with this one, we really have to help. There are loads of kids coming out of school with not very many qualifications, and doing nothing with their lives. And never mind what it means for the country, what does it mean for that person? You know, so I think this policy has real potential. It depends on how they present it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be overseen by the Work and Pension Secretary, Pat McFadden. Forms part of a pledge, they say, of nothing less than the abolition of long-term youth unemployment. But Mel Stride, Shadow Chancellor, has said, Rachel Reeves says she wants to abolish youth unemployment, yet in her very first budget she introduced a £25 million jobs tax that made it more expensive for businesses to hire, especially young people. This is the contradiction at the heart of Labour's plan. They talk about opportunity, but their policies kill jobs. So they're having a nice go at this already.
Well, yes, but nobody... Look, I don't listen to anybody from the Tory party because you had your chance. What did you do? So go away.
Yeah. So here we are, Labour Conference 2025, Reeves's youth promise, the big headline. But actually, what we'll all be listening out for with her is any indications of what is in the budget.
The budget, and especially around, you know, we know the pressure that Rachel Reeves is under from certainly the members, the delegates here up in Liverpool, who would like to see her introduce a wealth tax. Any clues she might give away when it comes to lifting the two-child cap on benefits? Let me get that right. And I think, you know, there is undoubtedly pressure. We've seen Andy Burnham and the Mirror and the Guardian picks up on this broader pressure on the Labour leadership to turn things round at this particular stage, and this is really the first opportunity for Rachel Reeves to...
I'm just going to interrupt you. I do apologise. Europe has won the Ryder Cup. First to 14 points to retain, 14.5 they're currently on. So not only bringing it back, the gold trophy across the Atlantic, but also now winning the Ryder Cup. They look like they had an unassailable lead, but obviously in the singles, there was an extraordinary American fight back. But there we are. Is it the celebration moment? I'm just waiting to see. There we go. 14.5 is what they need to do. Big hugs all round. So there we go. The Europe team will be delighted amidst, actually, a climate that was described as obnoxious. Shouts from the crowd. There's video circulating of beer being thrown at Rory McIlroy's wife as well. Complaints too from Justin Rose about American caddies going just as he was about to putt. So some really tense atmosphere, it has to be said, and questions about why that happened. We know it's not far from New York. It's about an hour east of Manhattan on Long Island. It did allow a large and clearly outspoken crowd to come. But people have been asking, is this also an indicator of the state of modern life at the moment?
Well, certainly modern America. It's frightening, and I'm surprised. Trump might get the team arrested before they can travel back. His arrests are ripe and
I'm not sure it was necessarily the team, was it, but the fans. Yeah.
But the proof was in the pudding. We beat them. So they can shout and jeer as much as they
winner
like.
Takes it all is what you're saying.
But if we and they got their tactics badly wrong. So no, I think it's good news. Good news for Europe and good news for good news to bring it back to Europe. Yeah.
Yep, to Ireland next time around. In fact, yes. So Europe retaining, not necessarily record-breaking as it looked like it could be, but an extraordinary win for Europe. The first time I think since 2012 that they have retained, or they've won it on an away fixture, if I can put it like that. So celebrations there for Europe in the Ryder Cup, 14.5. I'm just trying to see the results there, actually. 12.5 to 14.5. It's just slightly covered, isn't it? And as I said, the celebrations will continue. More in a moment.
People that pod together, they have a little hive brain going on.
They've not had a good week.
I've had a good week. There's a teaser there, a teaser.
OK, nothing to see here. Drama over.
Full stop.
Anyway, we'll get to that.
She will be mortified because she's the first female chancellor.
I popped upstairs, made myself a cheese sandwich, and now I'm with you.
Annalise has come dressed in the magenta of electoral dysfunction. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Deborah Haynes, Sky Security and Defence Editor. The reality of life under Russian fire. People don't want to leave even though help is here to evacuate them. They say they want to sort out their belongings first. It's absolute chaos. Fire, shouts the commander. There's a dash to safety as Russian drones will be trying to find this position. We've now got to wait inside the shelter to see if there is incoming. I've been covering Russia's full-scale war since it began, witnessing the terror and the trauma.
When rockets fall, I try to hide my head under my toys.
Illustrating Ukraine's lost childhood, hopes and dreams framed by war. Conflict in the Middle East is another major focus.
An incredibly dangerous moment.
We saw the missiles streaking across the sky. We saw the intercept going up, and then we saw the explosions when the intercepts were successful. With global threats rising, I also explored defence and security in the UK and across NATO. This US aircraft carrier is operating in European waters in a deliberate show of force. This is routine training for NATO, but should Russia's war with Ukraine escalate significantly, pilots like these could be called upon to go into combat for real. Tucked away in the National Archives are some of the UK's old defence plans. The scale of this bunker underlines how seriously governments took the threat of nuclear attack and global conflict. Should allies listen to Vladimir Putin's sabre-rattling?
No, they shouldn't, and they don't.
Sky News, the full story first.
I'm Dominic Waghorn, Sky's International Affairs Editor, covering a world that seems to be unravelling.
It's not his country, it's ours.
Sky News, the full story first, free wherever you get your news. It's half an hour now past the deadline that Hamas issued, and we've now seen a third barrage of rockets coming in.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Well, Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me once again, journalist and author Yasmin Alibhai-Brown and Theo Usherwood, political journalist and broadcaster. Welcome back to both of you. Front page of The Sun, shall we have there, get off one's land. This is the news that William and Kate will be protected by a huge no-go area, banning locals from land near their new home. The park is closed off, they suggest.
I mean, honestly, how do they get away with this?
Well, isn't it called security?
No, I don't think so. Why are they doing it now? There are people who've lived in this place for how many centuries? This is astonishing. These are the younger generation.
But this is Windsor Great Park, isn't it? It's kind of royal
part
land, isn't it?
Honestly, I'm not a royalist, but even I think that the younger generation could become a little less obnoxious. They are obnoxious.
But we've
Look
had
at this.
assassination attempts in America.
I think.
We've had, I mean, the mood music, as you've suggested, is fraught at the moment.
But
And
the
you're
royal,
suggesting they
no.
shouldn't have-
The solution is not spoilt royal family who. I mean, there was the Channel 4 documentary last year or this year about the millions, particularly William and Charles, are taking from charities, from ordinary people.
I didn't say that, and
why?
I can't counter that.
No.
Yasmin, I don't know what you're saying there.
Go and look it up. Everybody watched it. It was in the news.
Okay, fine. But
how can you not be more modern?
And how can you not be secure if you're heir to the
It's
throne?
not about
I think
security.
it's a bit harsh to call the heir to the throne
Why?
obnoxious.
No, I do think they're obnoxious. If you watched that documentary and read the articles that followed,
It was Duchy of
I
Cornwall
mean,
land,
William.
wasn't it? I think.
I mean, just last week,
Yeah.
actually, has decided that he's not going to charge rent on some ambulance thing or something. It was shocking how much money they
and then
had.
can I just do the facts of this story, if you don't mind? So they're moving into 8-bed Forest Lodge in Windsor Great Park in Berkshire. The whole point is that CCTV cameras, fencing and landscaping will keep trespassers away, which actually will seem to many
The
people
locals.
sensible. Theo, wait a second.
I think if you're next in line to the throne, you're obviously you're an obvious security risk, or you are at security risk. I think it's I feel sorry for the local dog walkers. I feel sorry for the dogs of the local dog walkers. But I just think
This is Windsor. They're all royalists and they're up in arms.
There's loads. There's lots of green belts.
I mean, honestly, during COVID, I remember saying, there's a park in Buckingham Palace which no one uses. Why don't they open up the park so that people can walk on there? And we got such a positive response.
It's a garden.
Yeah, the garden, the huge park, which is the size of 2 parks. Not opened up.
What happens if the dog
This is the only royal family, starting with the Queen, actually, which has not bestowed land for public use.
But also, you've got to think of the dogs as well, because one might get off the lead and then it might stray onto the land and then it could get shot, couldn't it?
Oh, God, you do have imagination. Write a novel.
Right, we move on.
Sorry.
Let's go to the Times. We started to talk about what we might hear at the Labour Party conference. Obviously, we listened very intently because it's government, about what might come in the budget. So Keir Starmer has repeatedly refused to rule out breaking Labour's pledge not to raise VAT amid fears that the government will have to find $30 billion in new taxes. Theo?
Yeah, the context of this is that, of course, the government's going to be submitting it, the Treasury is going to be submitting its documents later this week to the OBR to mark its homework ahead of the budget on November the 26th. And the paper reports that if it doesn't pass, their plans don't pass muster in terms of raising greater revenue from AI investment, from economic growth, then they're going to have to look at finding £30 billion. And the only way, according to Paul Johnson, who's, of course, the former director of the Institute for Fiscal Studies, quoted, of doing this is going to be to raise VAT, national insurance or income tax. And, of course, that would break Keir Starmer's, raising any of those three would break Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' election pledge. The least politically damaging, you would think, because it affects absolutely everybody in the same, well, proportionally, of course, it's slightly different, but it would be seen as the fairest and easiest way to do it would be to increase VAT, but that would have undoubtedly a knock-on effect on inflation.
We've only got 30 seconds left. I'm just going to show the front page picture there that you can see as well. It's now 13:15. They've continued playing in the Ryder Cup, but there is Shane Lowry, the Irishman, celebrating holing the crucial putt that ended a US fight back on a nail-biting final day of the Ryder Cup. It looked like Europe were dead, sir. In the end, they won, but goodness goodness me, they made it a bit harder on the final day. Some fantastic scenes, certainly. And I know Rory McIlroy is speaking right now, no doubt explaining, some of the fraught scenes that involved him, video posted on social media of beer being thrown at his wife, words exchanged with the crowd, some fraught, a fraught environment to be playing, but in the end, Europe winning there. And let's just show you the Metro, shall we? More sporting success, roars of the roses. This is the celebratory pictures of the women's rugby team. Changing the face of sport, Yasmin, is how that's been described.
No, it's fantastic. The women are doing it, aren't they?
It's in the Metro, if we can.
The women are really doing it. First the football, now the rugby. I don't watch rugby, but I saw the joy yesterday. Look at them.
Yeah, fantastic scenes.
And they're good-natured.
Good-natured. That's what we need, isn't it? Goodness me, yes, indeed. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. Theo Ashwood, Yasmin Alabai Brown, thank you both. See you for more at 11:30. The news is next.